They did amazing work for the people that they served, but they didn't believe in all the leaders that are out there, the neurodivergent people who are killing it in their career, who are already managers, who are already successful entrepreneurs. Before we get started on today's topic, my name is Lee and I am a leadership coach specialising in growing the careers and the businesses of people who are neurodivergent, and this topic is personally very important to me. I'm also ADHD, possibly ADHD, but wasn't diagnosed until I was nearly 30 after a successful career with lots of leadership opportunities, many of which I'd created myself. The late diagnosis after a 7-year career I was really proud of meant that I was recontextualising a lot and redefining how I looked at leadership. I'm part of a wave of recent ADHD diagnoses from the last few years for whom ADHD wasn't even a consideration for us growing up. Why would it have been? Growing up, ADHD was the naughty little boy syndrome. The kids who disrupted the class because they couldn't focus or they were hyperactive. That wasn't me. How could I have ADHD? Of course, that perception of ADHD that I just described is widely inaccurate. We now recognise the little girl staring off into space out the window. We now recognise the burnt out parent trying to juggle work, family, their hobbies and some semblance of a life. We recognise the overworker who's putting exceptionally long hours into their day trying to balance work and home and getting overwhelmed. I'm so glad for the expansion in all of the different ways that we talk about ADHD, and so glad there's more recognition of the different types of struggles that people might be having. The push to normalise accommodations needed for ADHD, it's all so wonderful and so important. But there is something that troubles me a little bit here, because everything that I've said so far about ADHD has been negative. And that's because there is a lot to be negative about with ADHD. I've done previous videos on emotional dysregulation, rejection sensitivity, impostor syndrome. There are really hard parts. But there is another side. Because those of us with ADHD think in ways that are brilliant. We can be amazing in a crisis, snapping into focus mode when everyone else is in chaos. We are passionate, we are enthusiastic, we can bring people with us and make inspiring leaders. I did a whole video on this topic, reasons why people with ADHD are brilliant, and I keep coming up with more and more of these reasons. Because I fully believe people who are neurodivergent have so much to offer society and the world, so many ways in which we are amazing, but we are constantly being held back by others' beliefs. When I got my diagnosis, I found it so freeing and so validating that for the next few weeks I was telling everyone, friends, family, colleagues, people that I had just met for the first time. I was so excited about this new self-awareness and I really wanted to share it with people. But the reaction often wasn't what I expected. People looked at me like I just told them I had really bad news, or they were just really confused because my tone didn't match the things that I was saying. Because everyone thought that ADHD was bad. It was a disarming experience for me, having my good news, my excitement of what I learned, being met with the complete opposite response. And that is the crux of the problem that I want to solve. Because in a world where neurodivergence is seen as all entirely bad, I think we will lose. We lose out on opportunities because people underestimate us due to our neurodivergence. We lose out on role models because the people walking this journey ahead of us and killing it in their career are uncomfortable to be open about their diagnosis. And we lose out on all of the adjustments in the way that we collectively move through the world due to accommodations that make living with neurodivergence easier, and so I set out to make a difference. I've always believed that one of the ways in which we can make a difference is through elevating our shared community. As a woman in STEM, I've always operated under the assumption that we need to get more women into leadership positions, and they will make things better for the women that follow them. I know that's not a direct cause and effect, and unfortunately there are people who do pull the ladder up behind them, but I believe that on average, more female leaders makes the world a better place for everyone of all genders. So I also believe that we can do the same for neurodivergence. What's interesting is that I don't see much of this talked about in the world. I definitely see in recent years there is a push for getting more neurodivergent employees in as individual contributors, and that is great. I definitely support that. I love that we are embracing neurodivergent teammates, but I'm concerned that the conversation stops there. Well done us, we hired one autistic employee. Pat on the back, job well done. When I first started out in this role, I ended up catching up with a few people who ran programs on getting more neurodivergent people into employment. I fully respect the work they do. I think it's amazing. I know it can be so hard for us to get our initial start, especially if someone has higher support needs. So the work they're doing is fantastic and I love that it's there. But when I mentioned the work that I do, they looked at me as if they thought it was a bit ridiculous. They did amazing work for the people that they served, but they didn't believe in all the leaders that are out there, the neurodivergent people who are killing it in their career, who are already managers, who are already successful entrepreneurs, and they just need that little bit of help to take themselves to the next level. And that's part of the problem, because you can't be what you can't see. And they couldn't see people in these roles. We don't see enough neurodivergent leaders out there, but they are. They're all over YouTube being creative, running businesses based on their channels. They're comedians, they're entrepreneurs, they're managers. They're all over the place and they are being amazing, and I want to see more of them. And there are so many benefits to us being there. In a world full of lies and misinformation right now, autistic honesty and directness and a sense of justice that makes the world a better and more fairer place is so highly valuable. In a world where society is having to struggle with more and more complex topics, dyslexic thinking and the ability to break that down and communicate that is so important. We have more empathy, more understanding of what it's like to live in a world that isn't built for us. We are agents for change, changing systems and structures and finding strategies to make the world more friendly to more people. It's important for us to make it better, to learn what needs to change and to make sure that change happens. To improve education opportunities by designing systems that work for more people. To improve accessibility all round. I believe a world with more neurodivergent leaders will be a more equal society. And that's why I do what I do. Because right now, I live in a world where the potential downsides of getting an autism diagnosis are much bigger than the potential upsides. And so I'm not pursuing an autism diagnosis. I won't find out the answer to that question because the downsides aren't worth it. Because I know some people now see me differently now that I'm open and talking regularly about my ADHD. But I know that my neurodivergent brain is amazing, and I know there are so many of us out there who are being absolutely amazing, doing wonderful things with our neurodivergent brains. We don't need every one of us to be a leader. We can all walk our own paths, and that's the beauty of it. But what we do need is more and more positive representation of our amazing neurodivergent brain. So that's the purpose of Through the Noise coaching. To equip neurodivergent leaders and entrepreneurs with the skills that they need to go out there and be amazing and create other opportunities for more people in our community. Because we can grow together, and I truly believe we can make this world a better place. And that's where I'm gonna leave it today. This is more of an impassioned speech or soapbox moment than maybe some of my other more educational videos. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please leave me a like if you like this video, hit subscribe for more educational content around neurodivergence, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.